Hi, I'm Chef Jennifer Gabios, and today we're going to be making a carrot cake. We're going to take the traditional carrot cake layers that I made from one of my previous videos, and we'll be filling it with cream cheese icing. We'll be putting a Swiss buttercream on the outside. I prefer to do the exterior in a buttercream because it's much more firm and easy to work with, whereas cream cheese icing can have a little bit of a stretchy consistency that is harder to decorate the outside with. We'll be torting and filling that cake, and then decorating it by masking the border with some chopped pecans, doing some Dulce de Leche caramel drips down the side. I've just taken a regular Dulce de Leche that I've purchased, and then just thinned it down with water so that it's the right consistency. And then I'll be showing you how to candy some carrots and use that as a decoration for the top. I find that they really bring out the carrot flavor of the cake, and they have a more elevated visual look than the typical icing colored drawn carrots on top.
Here I have my carrot cake already torted into 3 1-inch layers. Center the layers on the cake board and trim the cake till there is a 1/4 inch gap between the cake and the board. Be sure to cut straight up and down so that the layers are the same size. Since I'll be using the board as a guide for icing, the more cake I trim, the thicker the exterior icing will be. My goal is to have a 1/4 inch layer of icing on the top and all the way around the sides of the cake. If you do not trim the cake enough or don't trim it evenly, then the cake will show through your final layer of icing. You can check that you've trimmed the cake properly by using a bench scraper or joint knife and pressing it against the board as you turn it to make sure that you have a 1/4 inch gap around the top and bottom of your cake. A dam is a layer of thick icing that holds up the next layer of cake and holds in any soft filling. A dam should be 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick and applied on but not over the top edge of the cake. I like to measure my fillings with a scoop to ensure that my layers are equal. This also allows me to predict exactly how much filling I'll need per cake. Using a small offset spatula, spread the filling evenly. Make sure to push the filling all the way to the edge of the dam. Once the filling is added, cover it with the next layer of cake, making sure that the cake layer is centered, the edges are flush, and the top is level. One poorly placed cake layer can make your cake crooked or cause the cake to show through the icing. Filling should not exceed the height of the dam, as this will destabilize the structure of the cake. Once your cake is filled, you will need to apply a crumb coat. This is a thin layer of icing covering the entire cake. This helps lock in crumbs, prevents the cake from drying, and establishes your cake's final shape. Start by spreading any excess from the dam. Add only enough icing to cover the cake. Make the crumb coat as thin and smooth as possible. I like to wrap my crumb-coated cakes in plastic wrap for several reasons. Cakes can be stored like this in the refrigerator for up to a week, or in the freezer for a month or longer. However, the quality of the cake filling may deteriorate slightly over long-term freezing. It acts as a protective layer to prevent the cake from drying out or absorbing smells or flavors from your refrigerator. It allows you a final opportunity to straighten, center, and level your cake manually. Finally, it allows you to label the cake with important information like cake size, flavor, date, and customer name. Once wrapped, the cake should be chilled until the crumb coat is set to the touch, at least 10 to 15 minutes. If the cake is frozen, make sure to thaw it to 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit before icing. Frozen cakes can cause a lot of condensation that will make icing difficult to adhere and set icing really quickly while you're still trying to smooth it. Recenter your cake and re-smooth your crumb coat before icing if necessary. When working with buttercream, always beat it vigorously with a rubber spatula immediately before icing in order to get a smooth finish. The icing on the left is unbeaten and the icing on the right has been remixed. Notice that the icing on the left is full of air bubbles, while the remix icing spreads much smoother. The first step of icing a cake is to completely cover the cake in a very thick layer of icing. Start with the top, add more icing than you think you'll need. Use an offset spatula to spread the icing over the surface. Hold the spatula level with the blade at a 45-degree angle and rotate the cake quickly to remove excess. Now cover the sides of the cake by gathering icing on 2/3 of the spatula, then quickly pressing it against the side of the cake. Gently move the spatula back and forth to adhere the icing to the cake. Make sure to cover the entire cake with a layer of icing thick enough to fill the gap between the cake and the board. Make sure the icing on the sides of the cake is the same thickness on the top and bottom in order to get straight sides. Make sure the icing on the sides of the cake rise above the top surface of the cake, creating a wall all the way around. This will help you form sharp corners later. You can do this by inverting the icing on your spatula onto the top edge of your cake. Slide your spatula towards the center of the cake, leaving the icing along the edge. Now take your spatula and apply pressure to the side of the cake, moving back and forth to evenly distribute the icing. Continue this process until you have a tall ledge around the entire top of your cake. Once the cake is fully covered, you can begin shaping. Start by using a bench scraper or joint knife to remove excess from the sides. Touch the bottom corner of the blade gently to the cake board while tilting the top corner away from the cake. Spin the turntable while maintaining gentle pressure on the cake board. Scrape excess icing off the blade and back into your bowl after each rotation. Lift the angle of the spatula slightly to remove more excess. Once the spatula is straight up and down and the sides look straight, you can begin shaping the top. Hold the spatula level and even to the desired final height of the cake. Tilt the blade to a 45-degree angle and apply only horizontal pressure, moving the spatula from the edge of the cake inwards. Move 2/3 of the way across the cake before quickly lifting your spatula off the surface. Scrape excess icing off the spatula and back into the bowl each time. Continue this process around the entire top of the cake until you've created corners and the top of the cake is flat. You can check the depth of your cake icing by inserting the dull end of a skewer. Remember, you're looking for a 1/4 inch depth. Many cake decorators stop here, but smoothing is the final process that perfects the shape and smooths out any air bubbles or imperfections. Start by going back to the sides of the cake with your joint knife. but this time make sure the blade is perfectly straight up and down, and at a 20-degree angle from the cake. Apply very gentle pressure and turn the table a full 360 degrees in one swift, smooth motion. Make sure to wipe the spatula completely with a clean, damp towel after each rotation. Continue this process until you are satisfied with the smoothness of the cake. To finish smoothing the top of the cake, you will use a similar process as when you are removing excess icing from the top of the cake. Hold your spatula smooth and level with the blade at a 20-degree angle. Quickly move your spatula from the edge of the cake to 2/3 of the way across the cake, quickly lifting off gently at the end. Remember to apply only horizontal pressure. Now you should have a cake with a smooth level top, crisp clean corners, smooth straight sides, and a thin even layer of icing with no visible crumbs or air bubbles. Finally, you're ready to decorate your cake. I'm going to add a rustic spiral texture to this cake. I'll begin by gently holding the tip of my spatula against the bottom side of the cake. While rotating the turntable at a consistent speed, raise your spatula slowly until you reach the top corner of the cake. To mark the top, press the tip of the spatula gently into the center of the cake. While rotating the turntable at a consistent speed, gently move your spatula to the outer edge of the cake. For this cake, I will only be masking the bottom border, just enough to cover the bottom cake board. This works best when the icing is fresh, before refrigerating. When masking, you apply a decorative item gently up the sides of a cake by pressing it into the icing gently while rotating. You can also use chopped nuts, cookie crumbs, sprinkles, or any other fine mixture. I'm going to make candied carrots as a flavorful garnish. Start with 6 ounces of simple syrup and 1 to 2 ounces of small diced carrots. Bring this to a boil for 1 minute. Cover with plastic wrap and steep until room temperature. Strain the carrots and store them until ready for use. I've thinned my dulce de leche with water until it resembles the consistency of caramel. Then I placed this into a squeeze bottle and warmed it to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Use the squeeze bottle to make controlled drips all the way around the cake. Go back and even out the caramel along the top edge of the cake. Now add your carrots neatly and evenly around the top edge of the cake. In order to write on a cake, you'll need a parchment bag. Cut a triangle from parchment paper. Roll the outside corner to line up with the right angle on the opposite side. Wrap the remaining corner tightly around the cone until all the corners line up. Pull the interior corners outwards to tighten the cone. Roll the corner of the bag down 2 to 3 times until the cone is tight. Fill the bag no more than halfway full. Roll the bag away from the seam and fold inwards to secure. Until you feel confident in your piping skills, practice writing on parchment paper before writing on your cake. When writing with a semi-liquid mixture such as caramel, ganache, or melted chocolate, make sure to lift your bag about 1 inch from the surface and let it fall in a smooth line. Refrigerate cakes for at least 20 to 30 minutes before cutting to allow all the softer components to chill and firm. In order to cut the cake, use a long, sharp knife, preferably serrated. Push straight down and then remove by dragging across the bottom, not by lifting back up. Wipe your knife with a clean, damp cloth between each cut. Properly filled cake should have even, level cake and filling layers, with straight sides and a level top. I hope you've enjoyed this video and can use it to successfully make your own carrot cake. Stay tuned for more educational cake videos.